business, I had a pretty good handle on what most everybody was doing as far as doctrine. And quite frankly, the difference in one school's doctrine to another, if you really break it down to its lowest denominator, there really isn't that different. You still have to grasp the gun, you still have to get it between you and your adversary, you still have to control the trigger. So what we're talking about really is minutia. But one of the things I always saw in the various schools I went to is they all had a ready position that they tended to build their doctrine around. And there's nothing wrong with that. I have no problem with that whatsoever. That's perfectly fine. Case in point, gun sight, the modern technique of the pistol. It was what Jeff Cooper called the guard position. And essentially what that was that the gun was on target and then lowered enough that you could see the adversary's hands. The classic low ready, the 45-degree angle straight down, that was really more of a function of law enforcement and law enforcement firearms instructors. The guard position was lower just enough to see the hands. And that was fine. If you went to, say, the Tactical Defense Institute in Southern Ohio, John Benner's place, he's about chest ready or air marshal ready, which is straightforward. Blackwater, I don't know what the current Owners Academy teach, but when Blackwater was still Blackwater, it was a high ready position. Now, the point being made here is that no single ready position will work for all situations. That's the downside. So you need to be able to mix the ready positions up. The guard position, the problem with the guard position, it was real fast as long as you could hold it, but how long could you hold it out here before it started becoming this? And on many police ranges across the United States, this became a ready position. And think about it. It may be range safe, but in the field, I'm coming around the corner and I come up against you and now I've got to lift it and I've got to try to stop it. What's the chance I under or over travel? Well, chest ready. Everybody, chest ready is very, very fast. But if I loaded the gun up and stood here like this, would you guys be happy? I mean, you can't point the gun at anything you're not willing to shoot, kill, or destroy. So chest ready can't work all the time. High ready. What's the problem with high ready? You can't see what's below your hands. So you can't use any single ready position all the time. You've got to vary it up. Truth of the matter is it's going to be situationally dependent. A building search is a pretty good example. A building search doesn't look like this. A building search in a real hostile environment, it looks more like, because the muzzle is kind of leads to danger. The muzzle goes to the threat, and it should be. So in my classes, I kind of vary up the ready positions. I call it an arc of ready. And the reason being is because the ones I use kind of make an arc around the front of my body. I run my gun in what they call the workspace or the work zone. The best way to kind of determine that is, and you guys don't have to do that, but if I was standing here and I was looking straight ahead at Bob and I put my hand here like this, if I kept my eyes on Bob and I lowered it down, when my hand gets out of my peripheral vision about right here, the area between my eyes and right here, that's the workspace or the work zone. So I like to run things high in the work zone. So the ready positions that I like to show my classes are chest ready because it has some applicability. The difference that I do over some of the other instructors is I tend to shove the gun over underneath my dominant eye. Instead of having it right in the middle of my chest, I bring it over here like this. Now, why do you think I would do that?
One less correction when you bring it out.
One less correction when you bring it out. Absolutely correct. If I'm going to deploy this, Bob's my target. If I'm going to deploy the gun to the target and my dominant eye is the same as my dominant hand, why bring it over here? I'm going to keep it over here like this so I can get it to my dominant eye faster. Now, if I'm cross-eye dominant, right hand, left eye, then bringing it to the center of my body and trying to bring in my head over, that makes a certain amount of sense, don't you think? So I bring it over this way. Also, the reason I bring it over here is just because it's in my arc of draw. When I draw from my holster, this is probably where my hands are going to come together. So I have a consistency, continuity kind of thing going on there. All right, so my ready positions, I shift them all over in my dominant eye. I like to do what I call a compressed low ready, which is basically the same as the low ready position, but I pull it in tight like this. Why would I do that?
We'll hold it all day.
By bending those elbows, I can hold it for a long period of time. Also, come on out here. If you grab a hold of my gun extended like this, he has the leverage. I can't fight him off. Eventually he's going to rip it out of my hand. But if I pull it into here, now I've got the leverage. So I've got the benefits of taking the muzzle off target in a low ready, but I can hold it in tight. And then the high ready position, I kind of like it. At first I thought maybe it was kind of something silly, but the more I got to thinking about it, I thought not so much. The downside is, again, it's blind right here, but you can do a couple things to mitigate that, and I'm going to show you what you can do. Okay? Or if you're really a high-speed, low drag, you can go. So how big of a problem is that? Not much. Now, muzzle's pointed up. There's some appropriate times to be pointed up, like high threats. Would that make sense? I find that when I'm moving really fast, like almost at a run, I can stabilize the gun in here easier than I can stabilize the gun down here. Also, if this was concrete or a hard object and I let a round go right here, where does it go?
Bounces all over.
You know about the bouncing bullet theory. If it's 45 degrees or less and hits a hard object, it's going to raise off the plane of the hard object 8 to 18 inches and it's going to follow it. So holding the gun right here, if we were on a hard object, I could potentially be shooting you guys in the feet, so maybe high ready would be better. What about coming up from low cover? Say you're behind the engine block of a car. Do you pop your noggin up, then bring the gun up? Or does the gun and the head come up together so you can give outbound cover via outbound fire, cover by outbound fire? Does that make sense to you? So you have ready positions that work for multiple situations. And in my classes, because they kind of look at it like an arc, I call it the arc of ready. And you basically vary the ready position based on the situation you face. Does that ring with everybody? Okay. That's all we're going to do with that. What I want to do now is I want to move into the draw stroke, because drawing from concealment is something you need to know.